up, everyone? Neil saw my post about how to crash a party, and I thought I'd just show you all the top tricks I use on video. Now, I read a lot of Neil's books, kind of like the Motley Crue book, just to study his writing, so I figured this would be a nice way to thank him, right? So, why would you want to crash a party? Well, I detail it all in the post on how I do it. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I've got to hang out with people like Elton John, Lance Armstrong, Michael Dell, in social settings. That's pretty cool. You get to meet a ton of rich people in a social setting, get to talk to them like you're their peer. You don't usually get that. So that's the reason I would crash a party. And, well, let's show you how. So the number one tactic I've had, and it's buying a fucking tuxedo. Look the part. If you see a doctor in a hospital wearing a white coat and a stethoscope and carrying a chart and it says Dr. Gupta or something on the side, he looks like a doctor, right? He's looking the part. So you want to look like a guy who belongs at a black tie event. So you got to have black tie attire, which means a tuxedo for dudes, right? So get a tuxedo. It'll cost you $150 or $200. And if you crash some high-end parties, which cost $300 to $1,000+ a ticket, you'll pretty much pay for your tuxedo in the very first try. The next thing you want to do is accessorize. Now, notice I have this wristband on. The reason I have that on is at a lot of events I've been to, they always give you some sort of identifying tag. That means that you belong in the party, that you've checked in and now you have this and you belong in the party. So usually I'll carry a bunch of them to a party. So if they have green bands, I'll bring my green band. If they have a blue one, I'll bring my blue band. Or I'll wear whatever's the closest color. If they have purple, I'll wear blue because it's closest out of these two. Also, if you're crashing events, that like conferences or something like that, which are really, really helpful sometimes, just keep badges. I have a collection of badges. Look, I have badges that are crappy. I have badges that are nice. I have badges from South by Southwest with all this stuff on them. And the thing is, you just wear them around your neck and pretend like you belong. So let's say they have a lanyard at these events, and it's a red lanyard. Everyone has a red lanyard, and you only have a purple one. Who cares? Roll with it. What you do, here's a quick little tactic I learned for conferences. I've done this throughout whole conferences and got away with it. You wear your lanyard, and then you wear your suit jacket or tuxedo, whatever you're wearing, over it. So people see that you have the lanyard on, but they can't really tell like what your badge says. It's just kind of popping out of the bottom. So they thought the guy buttoned his coat and put it over the badge. Big deal. He's still got a thing. And if it's a different colored lanyard, a lot of times there's like VIP access, platinum access, gold access, press access. There's all these different types of lanyards that indicate stuff. So most people don't even think about it. That's a different lanyard. If you're wearing a suit at a hotel at 2 p.m. for a conference and you got a lanyard on, you kind of look like you belong at the freaking conference, right? So that's one of the things. Bring a couple of these things in your car before you go and prepare with accessories. The other thing I want to tell you is there's a bunch of other good stuff in the post that you should read first because there's a lot of cool tactics. But I want to tell you one thing that Neil will probably agree with, and it's make friends immediately. Once you get into a party, the fun's just begun. In fact, the nervousness sets in once you're in. Because what happens when you crash a black tie party, there's only 200 people and most people know each other. What's going to happen is everyone's going to start forming little groups and cliques and saying hi, and you're going to be this freaking little loser kicking it in the corner doing nothing, just talking on your cell phone or going to the bathroom trying to escape the uncomfortableness. What you got to do is as soon as you go in that party, you have to start either flying or dying, and you have to start making friends. So what I would do in parties is I'd immediately go and just talk to someone. And I'll show you a quick trick on that in a second. But you talk to someone and get their name and occupation. This is very, very important. Because if you just talk to someone and then you say your goodbyes and go talk to someone else, you haven't built an asset. But if you get that person's name and maybe find out that their wife's going to show up in 10 minutes of the party or whatever, you can later go like, oh, hey, Bob, what's up, man? Did your wife show up yet? It looks like you know people at this point. So one of my tricks is I was kind of a wuss whenever I first started crashing these parties. And I was really awkward about just cold approaching people and saying, hey, what's your name? Like, I just was not good at that. What I would do is go to the bar line. Usually there's free booze at these high-end parties. And there will usually be maybe like 5 people waiting in line to get a cocktail. So what I would do is go stand behind some dude, and I was kind of nervous to talk to girls at the point because you didn't know who they were with. I'd go talk to some dude, stand behind him in line, and be like, man, I just kind of act casual and be like, man, there's a line here? Geez, I want my booze now. or something stupid like that. And he would laugh, and then I'd be like, hey, I'm Neville. And then I would introduce myself, and he'd be like, I'm Alan. I'd be like, hey, Alan, what brings you here? What do you do? What's your story? And then we start talking for like a minute or two while we're waiting for our cocktails. And I would try to find his name and occupation and maybe something interesting about him so I can say later in the party, whenever he's sitting at a table, hey, Alan, what's going on, man? I want to look like I know people. I want to look like I belong. So you got to start meeting people, taking names, and getting some other information about them. So that way, if Alan sees one of his friends, Bill, he brings Bill over and he's like, hey, Bill, meet Neville. Now this Bill guy thinks like I belong at this party somehow. So all of a sudden you start working a room, and if you give it a couple of minutes, at some point you'll actually know like 10 people in the room and be like, hey man, blah, blah, blah. You kind of work the room, and it kind of looks like some sort of douchey thing, but that's what you got to do, and that's how you meet all the people, and you meet some really interesting people. Next and final trick. This is my favorite trick that I've used, and I'm going to be giving this away, and I'm sure everyone's going to use it, but everyone loves this trick. Whenever you're going into a party, you want to look like you've already been inside. Now, how do you give that impression off? One, you could wear a tuxedo, look like you belong, and have the access wristband. But if you really want to get by the security guards, the volunteers at the front, or the party planners, what you do is this. You need a couple of props, and they're all really cheap. One, you need a wine glass. You can get them for $1 a piece at Walmart. Two, you need a flask with wine, preferably red wine so it gives some effect. I've got Monster Energy drink in here right now. But then you also need a cocktail napkin. And what you do is you kind of keep this, in your suit jacket. And before you arrive at the party, you put down, you wrap the wine glass in your little cocktail napkin. You open up your flask. And you do this out of sight of everyone, of course, and give it a little pour. So now it looks like I've got a cocktail with me, right? And I'm wearing my little wristbands and lanyards or whatever the hell I got on. And then you whip out your phone. This looks like a glass of urine, but, whatever. So now it looks like I've been in a fucking party, right? Why else would I have a glass of wine with a cocktail napkin wrapped around it, wearing a fucking tuxedo at a party? I have clearly been inside, right? And so when you're trying to go into the party, let's say it's either early or late or whatever, you're just trying to get into the party past the check line. What you do is you grab your cell phone, and this is where the psychology comes in. You have to tell yourself, you own the fucking place. These people worked for me. Kind of get this douchebag mentality that like, if someone stops me, I'm going to fucking chew them out. Now, you don't have to be mean about it, but you got to think that in your head. So what I would do is when I would go in is I would use this glass, and I would ditch the glass later, and I would stay on my cell phone, and I would start like power walking in. And I would go past the line, and if someone ever was like, oh, excuse me, sir, do you have your ticket on you? I would just go, shh, and just keep walking. Now think about the audacity of that. Imagine like you're trying to stop me and you're a volunteer. Let's say you're a volunteer and there's 200 rich people at this event and they're way above your level. And you're kind of intimidated by them. Or there's 200 people and you're like getting paid $12 an hour. And someone goes, hey, shh, like you're just not going to hassle them. So you just walk in past the party, drinking your, and just keep going in and just look like you're in a hurry. And if someone stops you, you can even bullshit with them and say like, hey, the boss lady's on the phone. Do you know how long the front table is? I need to go check. Say something that makes it look like you've been inside, that you belong. Anyhow, so that's my number one trick. The wine glass, it's a $1 trick, and that's all you need to know to kind of crash a party. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you read the post. There's a bunch more tactics in there. I hope you enjoyed these tactics. Neil, cheers.